To say a flying car recently took off in Dubai doesn't exactly describe what happened Sunday in the largest city of the United Arab Emirates. It did involve a vehicle, or a couple of them really, one being what the Chinese maker called a land aircraft carrier. What looks kind of like a Cybertruck unloaded what looks kind of like a beach canopy. But when that cargo's arms are unfolded, you get what appears to be a life-sized drone capable of carrying two people up, and away. The vehicles are currently in production in China and expected to be delivered to buyers next year, according to the publication Gulf News. It also says hundreds of orders have been placed and that the United Arab Emirates has given the maker a special flight permit to operate here. The price, an estimated $270,000 for Chinese buyers, though that's not final and could be different in different countries. The flying vehicle's designed to be easy to learn and eventually accessible to more people. But if you're planning to fly somewhere one way, someone's still going to need to take the truck to pick up the aircraft. So you might have to fight with your brother about who has to drive and who gets to fly. Hi, I'm Carl Azuz for The World from A to Z. In the Middle East, Monday was a day of peace. After 2 years of outright conflict between the Palestinian militant group Hamas and the nation of Israel, the last surviving hostages Hamas was holding, 20 people captured in 2023, were returned to Israel. And almost 2,000 Palestinian detainees and prisoners were returned to Palestinian territories. It was part of a peace agreement between Israel and Hamas, a plan to end their 2-year-old war in Gaza, and it was put forth by U.S. President Donald Trump, who was in Egypt yesterday with more than 20 other world leaders to sign a document related to the Middle Eastern ceasefire. The American leader called it a day people have been, quote, working, striving, hoping, and praying for, and said he was confident the ceasefire would hold. But there are still some disagreements that have to be resolved. For one thing, Hamas hasn't returned some of the bodies of Israelis who died during their captivity. That was part of the agreement. And dozens of additional Palestinian prisoners held by Israel couldn't return home immediately because they'd been deported to other places like Egypt. There are also questions about what happens next in Gaza, the Palestinian territory torn apart by war. Details about that haven't come out. But aid trucks carrying food and needed supplies are flowing into the area. Israel has pulled its troops back to an agreed-upon line there, and there were celebrations Monday in both Israel and Palestinian territories as hopes for peace flowered after years of war.
On this date in world history.
A Nobel Peace Prize was awarded on October 14th in 1994. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, and Israeli Foreign Minister Shimon Peres were recognized for the Oslo Accords and their work toward a potential path to peace in the Middle East. We say potential because their efforts didn't ultimately solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This was the date in 1964 when U.S. civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize. The achievement honored his efforts to peacefully resist racial injustice, and at the time, he was the youngest person ever to receive it. And on October 14, 1962, American U-2 spy planes flying over Cuba photographed a missile on a launch pad. It had come from the Soviet Union, an ally of Cuba and enemy of the U.S. during the Cold War, and the sighting sparked the Cuban Missile Crisis that lasted almost a month and nearly led to outright war between the Americans and the Soviets.
Word of knowledge. New York City and Boston, Massachusetts began constructing subway lines after what historic event? Great September Gale of 1815, Great Fire of 1835, Great Blizzard of 1888, Johnstown Flood of 1889. An unexpected storm that struck in March and dropped several feet of snow, the Great Blizzard of 1888 prompted these cities to build underground transportation systems.
It dumped more than 4 feet of snow in some areas, with drifts towering several times that height. It claimed an estimated 400 lives, some of which were people simply caught outside as the storm struck. The Great Blizzard of 1888 was an example of a nor'easter, a system named for its winds that typically blow from the northeast. It also typically strikes the U.S. Northeast, in addition to eastern Canada, and that's the kind of storm that's been lashing the Atlantic coast since last weekend and prompting emergency declarations.
A powerful and dangerous nor'easter is slamming Atlantic states. It's a cyclonic storm with northeast winds that push water toward the coast.
The tidal flooding is the main concern.
Authorities report numerous water rescues in the Carolinas. Forecasters say mid-Atlantic and New England coastlines are in danger. The National Weather Service says flood risks in some areas will remain for days.
I wanted to see how high the water was, and it's higher than I expected already.
Delaware says it's activating its National Guard. Atlantic City, New Jersey could see the highest water levels since Hurricane Sandy. The area is more secure than it was during that infamous storm, thanks to millions of dollars of improvements.
Nowadays, it's everybody's preparing for the worst and kind of hoping for the best, which is, I guess, really the best way to prepare for it.
The nor'easter is causing numerous travel issues. FlightAware reports more than 7,000 flight delays. It says airports in New York and Boston were hardest hit. The nor'easter also is bringing powerful winds. Meteorologists say they topped 50 miles per hour in parts of Delaware, North Carolina, New Jersey, Maryland, and Virginia.
There are some big gusts coming through, so just the chance for some isolated power outages as well.
I'm Mimi Kiley reporting.
Truthfully, we did not pick today's first school because of its namesake. But Carl Albert has great initials, and that middle school in Midwest City, Oklahoma is the home of the Titans. Hello to Miss Watson's class. Meanwhile, the Rebels are watching from Slayton, Minnesota. Mr. Wishnak's class is amazing at Murray County Central High School, and will land at Lansdowne Middle with Miss Edwards' class in the Old Dominion of Virginia. It's great to see y'all in Virginia Beach.
Where in the world? This nation was founded as an empire in 1871. Today it's a republic with the largest economy in Europe. It was divided into East and West after World War II and reunited again in 1990. This is Germany. It's 84 million people, give it the largest European population after Russia.
Ramen usually comes in a bowl, but at this German food delivery service, it comes in a bucket. In 2020, Christopher Selig left his job as a food blogger to become a food creator. He launched Food Technique, a fresh ramen kit business with a red bucket delivery service.
The idea with the bucket was more due to necessity, as it was during Corona times, and I, of course, didn't want to receive guests directly in our house. It's super practical to let the bucket up and down, and of course, people found it totally exciting and thrilling, and since then, it's become a bit of a trademark symbol.
Selig's red bucket delivery service quickly rose to popularity on the ground and online, amassing more than 24,000 followers on Instagram. 4+ years later, Selig still relies on his trusty rope and bucket to deliver ramen kits to customers. But he's not only relying on the novelty of his eye-catching bucket to sell the soup.
It's totally exciting, something different. But the main reason we are here is for the quality of the food, not just for the red bucket.
Quality and convenience.
Ramen takes hours and sometimes days to make from scratch.
Each day, Selig and his 4 part-time colleagues prepare the ramen kits at an off-site kitchen. Noodles and broth are made fresh. Then they're frozen, carefully packaged along with toppings, and carted to Selig's apartment to be sold. Customers order online and are given scheduled times to pick up their food. Hungry for a taste? It'll cost you about $16. Good ingredients, and unusual service style. Despite adversity, quality, and creativity deliver.
Manuel Alvarez is said to be the oldest active chess player in Spain. Now, how do they know that? Well, the man's 104, so it's probably a pretty safe move to say he's a senior superlative. Anyway, to celebrate his 104th birthday, a Spanish chess club organized a special tournament that brought together more than 160 players, according to Reuters News. And Don Manuel not only participated, he defeated people much younger than he is. To be fair, he's been playing competitively for 82 years, so the centenarian who says he likes to think does have a bit of experience, which would make him look like a sort of king of the castling, with every knight to gambit on an attack that queens out his opponent's Sicilian defense, even if he has to pawn off a bishop for a winning position that puts the competition in checkmate. I'm Carl Azuz, puffing my chest out with puns on the world from A to Z. Means the world to have y'all watching.